Traveling in a smaller RV often means having a smaller refrigerator without the benefit of a separate freezer compartment. There are times when having additional refrigerator freezer space would come in handy. In this video, we'll look at an option to do so without having to upsize your RV. Hey everybody, this is John Marucci. Thanks for visiting the On the Road YouTube channel. You know, this channel is all about helping you get the most out of your RV travel experience. Before we get going, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos are published. If you want to dive deeper, we put more content and photos on Instagram and Twitter at John Marucci. So let's jump in. Those of you who have been watching this channel for a while have probably seen pictures and heard me mention the EdgeStar dual function refrigerator freezer unit that I often travel with. While I like the Dometic refrigerator that came with my RPod and have previously done a video on it, the smaller freezer compartment can be an issue, especially on longer trips. That's why I began to look into purchasing a secondary AC powered unit that I could travel with. I settled on the EdgeStar 1.1 cubic foot dual function refrigerator freezer. Let's take a look at the features and benefits that drew me to this unit and continue to impress me. Okay, number one, it really provides flexibility based on current needs. It can be a refrigerator or a freezer. Note that this is not a refrigerator with a small freezer compartment. It's either a refrigerator or a freezer. It allows me to determine how it will be used based on current needs. Often on a given trip, it can be switched to either refrigerator or freezer. It's really nice. Additionally, when used as a freezer, it allows me to remove the freezer compartment from the Dometic refrigerator in my RPod, enabling me to utilize all of it for just refrigerated goods. The second thing is it cools down really quickly when set up. This has been a big plus when setting it up at campsites. Next, in freezer mode, it can maintain sub-zero temperatures, and we'll talk about that in a moment. This is great, especially for items like bringing ice cream along, which was pretty much impossible before this. Next, it has a lock to keep stuff secure. This is beneficial since I keep the unit either under my Pahaki visor or in my outdoor screen room. It's got a nice low profile that fits under the tonneau cover in my Toyota Tundra. So this has allowed me to take the unit on trips in the winter. And also it allows for fewer trips to the grocery store. It actually allows me to buy larger quantities of frozen goods since I have a dedicated freezer outside. It allows me to buy items that will not necessarily fit in the Dometic freezer, like pizzas. It also allows me to buy items that need colder temperatures than the Dometic freezer can provide. Again, ice cream is an example. It's really proven to be a reliable unit over the long haul. My particular unit has been out multiple thousand-mile trips several times since I've owned it. Okay, so let's look at some testing I've recently done. You know, I ran a few tests to allow you to get an idea of the chilling capability of the EdgeStar dual function refrigerator freezer unit. To monitor the temperatures, I used a wireless digital freezer thermometer. So number one, from room temperature to 40 degrees, which is the FDA recommended temperature for a refrigerator, here's what happened. I began at room temperature. Ambient temperature outside where the freezer unit was 64 degrees. It took 15 minutes, once plugged in and turned to max, to reach 40 degrees. Next, I let it continue to go down to 0 degrees, which is the FDA recommended temperature for a freezer. Again, it started at 64 degrees and it took 40 minutes to reach 0 degrees. Finally, we let it go on continuing down to get colder from room temperature to the coldest freeze that we could get. And it began again at 64 degrees and it reached minus 24 degrees, that's right. And it took 90 minutes to get there, but it did get down to 24 degrees minus. And we've seen that same deep freeze on many different trips where we've used this. It got down in the minus 20s pretty easily. Okay, now opposite of this, what if you're leaving a campsite, right, and you want to keep things cold? You have to unplug the freezer and travel with a little bit. So we also tested it this way, where we started out with it fully cold on an 80-degree day in my garage where we left it. And basically we left it running and we turned the unit off when it was minus 24 at 3:30 in the afternoon, and half an hour later it was down to minus 6. Another half hour went by at 4:30, the temperature was 12 degrees. Half hour went by again at 5 p.m. The temperature was 24 degrees. Another half hour is 32. And finally, at a little after 6 o'clock, it was 41 degrees. So stop for a second. Let's think about this. It took 2.5 hours for this thing to warm up from minus 24 to 40 degrees. So that's a long time if you're traveling with this for frozen food to stay pretty good for a significant amount of time while you're traveling. So just remember that this has been really good to travel with. We actually traveled from Orlando last winter to Flagler Beach, which is about an hour and a half in Florida, and didn't have any issues at all with the frozen food staying locked in there during the trip. Okay, so what about transporting this when you're traveling? So what we did is we kept the original box and we cut the top off it and kept the styrofoam for the bottom padding. And when we travel, we just simply put the freezer unit in its original box with styrofoam at the bottom, so it has some padding when it's traveling down the road. Okay, from a recommendation perspective, I really highly recommend this unit. In fact, this is one of the few items, I'll be honest with you, that if it ended up breaking, I would really want to replace it quickly. I've gotten used to having it, and it's really nice to have, especially for things like ice cream. And we like eating ice cream, and if you've traveled at all with your Dometic, you know it's pretty tough to keep ice cream cold in the Dometic freezer, so this really helps. In fact, just a quick story, if you get this down to minus 24 degrees and put ice cream in there, you're going to need to take the ice cream out and pre-thaw it before you can even scoop it out. It's that hard. Okay, I provided product links for Amazon for both the EdgeStar and the wireless digital freezer thermometer that we described in the video. Again, highly recommended unit, and I would really encourage you, if you do any kind of traveling like this and you want a separate freezer unit, this is one that really works well and has worked well for me for a long time. If you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and share it. Hopefully this is helpful to you. Thanks for watching. This is John Marucci, and so long for now.